My friends, the roar doesn't stop. And now, all eyes are on Sunday, because the next challenge is absolutely massive. The Kansas City Chiefs are coming to town. The week in Detroit is already heating up, and the vibe is pure determination, fire, and a hunger to prove that this team can take on anyone, even the champs. But before we dive into all the updates and breakdowns, hit that like button to help power up the channel. It really keeps the roar alive every week. And I want to hear from you, Lions fans. What are your expectations for this showdown against the Chiefs? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's feel that Detroit energy as we get ready for battle, because here, the roar never fades. Go Lions! Something's brewing in Detroit, and this one could change the way fans look at the rest of the Lions season. You can almost feel it, that uneasy mix of frustration, urgency, and quiet confidence that defines a true contender facing real adversity. Because once again, the injury bug has decided to take a bite out of this team. And this time, it's the secondary that's paying the price. Last season, the defensive line and linebackers were hit hard. Now, it's the cornerbacks. Both DJ Reed and Terrian are expected to land on injured reserve, and that's a crushing blow for a defense that's already stretched thin. Add to that the fact that Khalil Dorsey is also out, still in concussion protocol and according to Dan Campbell, likely out for more than just a few weeks, and you start to see how deep this problem runs. But this is Detroit, and if there's one thing fans know about this team, it's that they don't panic, they adapt, they dig deep, and that's exactly what they're doing again. According to NFL reporter Cameron Wolfe, the Lions are signing veteran cornerback Arthur Maulet to their practice squad. The move might not sound flashy. In fact, it's the kind of signing casual fans might overlook. But inside Allen Park, it's another example of how Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell never stop searching for the right fit, no matter how tough the circumstances get. Maulet isn't a household name, but he's the kind of grinder Campbell loves. Undrafted, 32 years old, and a guy who's fought for every snap he's ever taken in the league.
There's history here, too, a connection that goes back to 2017 when Maulet spent time in New Orleans under Campbell's watch. Since then, he's been something of a journeyman, playing for the Colts, Jets, Steelers, and most recently, the Ravens. 6 years, for teams, countless snaps in the slot. And while he hasn't logged any stats so far in 2025, the Lions aren't bringing him in to chase glory. They're bringing him in because they need reliable depth, experience, and someone who's been there before when things get tough. And let's be honest, they are tough right now. Losing both starting corners is no small thing for a team with playoff ambitions. But Campbell's message is clear. You don't stop building. You don't stop fighting. The Lions tried to poach another cornerback earlier this week, but that move was blocked when the Saints swooped in to sign the player first. That didn't stop Detroit from immediately pivoting and getting Maulet in the building. It's the kind of quiet, smart move that's defined this front office's approach. They're not just chasing names, they're chasing fit, toughness, and accountability. Now, when you look at Maulet's scouting report from his college days, you start to understand who this guy is. His draft grade was just 5.4, labeled below average by analysts, the kind of player most teams would overlook. But he's made a career out of proving people wrong. At 5'10", he was forced to move inside to the slot, but his ball skills, athleticism, and grit allowed him to carve out a role wherever he went. He's known for decent press mechanics, quick reads, and a knack for shadowing quarterbacks' eyes from zone coverage, perfect traits for a defense that thrives on discipline and opportunism. And yes, he has weaknesses. He's been beaten on deep balls before, struggles with acceleration at times, and can be overpowered by bigger receivers in space. But what stands out isn't what he lacks, it's the way he fights through it. That's what Dan Campbell wants in his locker room, guys who might not have the perfect tools, but never stop swinging. And honestly, for a 32-year-old undrafted cornerback to still be in the league after nearly a decade, that tells you everything about the kind of player the Lions are getting. What's fascinating about this moment is how familiar it feels, and yet how different it actually is. Last year, the Lions were wiped out by injuries, with more than 20 players landing on injured reserve. In 2023, the team managed to stay relatively healthy, but now, in 2025, they're being tested again. This isn't a panic move, it's survival. It's what contenders do when the season hits them hard. They find a way to keep marching forward. Campbell's already made it clear that the Lions aren't done making moves in the secondary, especially with a massive showdown against the Kansas City Chiefs on the horizon. Don't be surprised if more names come through the door before kickoff. The expectation is that Maulet could be elevated to the active roster sooner than later. With both starting corners out, Detroit might have to reshuffle, maybe giving Brian Branch more time in the slot, with Amick Robertson and Rock Ya-Sin taking on heavier responsibilities outside. That flexibility could define how the Lions' defense survives the next few weeks. This isn't about finding a star, it's about finding stability. And that's where Detroit's mystery men strategy comes into play, a philosophy that's quietly defined the team's rebuild. Instead of chasing big-name free agents or overpaying for short-term flashes, the Lions have built a roster full of fighters, late-rounders, and overlooked veterans who fit the system and the culture. It's gotten them far, to the NFC Championship game, in fact, and fans can't help but wonder, will this approach finally take them all the way? That's the question hanging over Detroit right now. Because while other teams might open their wallets and chase headlines, the Lions just keep finding ways to stay alive. And every time they do, they seem to get a little tougher, a little closer to breaking through that final wall. Mallett might not be the headline name fans were hoping for, but if there's one thing this front office has proven, it's that the right puzzle piece doesn't always shine. Sometimes, it just fits. So, as we wait to see how this roster shuffle plays out, one thing's certain, the Lions aren't folding. Not now, not ever. They've built this thing brick by brick, and even as injuries pile up, they're not losing sight of the ultimate goal, a Super Bowl run that finally brings the city of Detroit the glory it's been starving for. Now I want to hear from you, Lions fans. Do you think this move for Arthur Maulet can help steady the ship in the secondary? Do you believe the mystery man approach still holds up when the pressure's on? Drop your thoughts below, because this conversation is just getting started. And that's the thing about this team, they never seem to blink, no matter how rough the road gets. Think about it. A year ago, the Lions' defensive line was shredded by injuries. It felt like every week someone new was down, and yet they still found ways to compete, to grind out wins, to stay relevant deep into the season. Fast forward to now, and the challenge has simply shifted to another part of the field. The cornerbacks, the last line of defense, are the ones under fire. But the mindset in Detroit hasn't changed one bit. Next man up. No excuses. That's the culture Dan Campbell has built, and it's what keeps this fan base believing even when the odds stack high. The signing of Arthur Maulet might look like a small transaction on paper, just another veteran added to the practice squad, but in reality, it's a statement. It's another reminder that this front office refuses to let adversity derail their mission. Maulet represents the very core of Detroit's identity. Toughness, grit, and relentless effort. He's not the kind of player who's ever been handed anything. Undrafted in 2017, Maulet carved his place in the league the hard way. From the Saints to the Colts, the Jets, the Steelers, and most recently, the Ravens, everywhere he's been, he's earned respect by being the guy who just doesn't quit. That kind of mentality resonates in Detroit. You look around the locker room, and it's full of guys who've been counted out before, late-round picks, players coming off injuries, veterans on prove-it deals. And yet, they've turned those chips on their shoulders into fuel. It's what got them within reach of a Super Bowl last year. It's what kept them in every game, even when talent alone might not have been enough. Now, let's not sugarcoat it. Losing both starting cornerbacks at the same time is brutal. It changes everything. The way you call plays, the way you rotate coverage, even the way your safeties approach each snap. But if there's one thing we've learned from Aaron Glenn's defense, it's adaptability. Brian Branch is going to be a key piece in that puzzle. The expectation is that he'll slide inside to handle more slot responsibilities, while guys like Amick Robertson and Rock Ya-Sin hold down the perimeter. It's not ideal, but it's workable, especially if the front seven continues to generate pressure the way they have through the first stretch of the season. Maulet's experience as a slot defender could become invaluable here. He's seen just about every route combination the league can throw at him, and while he may not have the speed he once did, his football IQ and anticipation can make up for it. And remember, this is a player who spent time in aggressive, physical defensive systems, the kind that fit perfectly with Detroit's identity. Whether he stays on the practice squad or gets elevated to the active roster, he's going to bring energy and leadership to a position group that desperately needs it right now. The timing of this move also adds an interesting wrinkle. The Lions' next game is against none other than the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that knows how to exploit mismatches better than anyone. Patrick Mahomes doesn't miss many chances when he spots a weak link in coverage. That's why Detroit's response to this crisis matters so much. It's not just about filling roster spots. It's about building confidence and sending a message to the locker room that they're not backing down from anyone. And if you think this team's front office is done making moves, think again. Sources close to the team believe more additions could be coming soon, especially in the secondary. This isn't the kind of situation you patch up and move on from quietly. It's one you manage carefully, piece by piece, to make sure it doesn't derail your entire season. And if we know anything about Brad Holmes, it's that he's not afraid to make a move when the moment calls for it. It's easy to look around the league and see other teams splurging, making blockbuster trades, throwing money at aging veterans, trying to buy their way to a championship. The Lions, meanwhile, keep doing it their way. The so-called mystery men strategy. It's the same one that got them to the NFC Championship game and turned doubters into believers. Instead of chasing names, they chase fits. Instead of paying for headlines, they pay for heart. And somehow, that formula keeps working. But the question remains, can it get them all the way? Can a roster built on chemistry, culture, and cohesion hold up against the league's elite when injuries hit hard and the pressure ratchets up? The answer is still being written, 1 week at a time. What's undeniable is that this team has the belief, from the front office to the fans, that they belong in that conversation. And every time they overcome another obstacle, that belief gets a little stronger. Detroit's story has never been about perfection. It's been about perseverance. And this latest challenge, losing 2 starting cornerbacks, scrambling to adjust before facing one of the NFL's most dangerous offenses, is just another chapter in that story. Mollett might not be a superstar, but he's exactly the kind of player that embodies what this city stands for: hard work, toughness, and resilience. So when you see him out there, whether it's in practice or under the bright lights on Sunday, remember what he represents. He's a reminder that in Detroit, no one gives up, no one backs down, and no one, not even the injury bug, is going to stop this team from chasing what it's built for. All right, Lions fans, now it's your turn. Do you think this next man-up mentality is enough to keep the secondary afloat until the starters return? Are you confident in the team's ability to hold off high-powered offenses like Kansas City's? And what do you make of the Arthur Mollett signing? Smart depth move or just another patch on a bigger problem? Let me know what you think in the comments, because this fan base has never been short on passion or opinions. One thing's for sure, no matter how rough it gets, Detroit isn't backing down. This team is built to fight, and the fight is just getting started.